And hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly. This is the voice of the silence coming to you from Kelly Towers. And this is, of course, the Tommy Kelly podcast. And today I'm recording this in the young man's room that, will be his room. It's not quite his room yet. It has all his stuff in it, but he's a bit too young because he's still in the bedroom. But it has a number of his items, and it's pretty fantastic. Having a baby is amazing, and no one can prepare you for the emotions you have around them and how you feel about the baby and all of those things. But people tell you, but you don't understand just how it affects you and how wonderful it is, and in a sense kind of heartbreaking in many ways because you know what's ahead of them and all those things. But wonderful, amazing experience, very hard to describe without sounding cliched or soppy, and even in doing those things you never quite can explain it. It's one of those knowing smiles or knowing nods that you would give to someone else who's been in the experience that would encapsulate the whole thing rather than trying to articulate it or whatever. So I'm in this room. And the reason why I'm here is that my aim is always to record it in the office, the main office downstairs, with the good sound cards, the good microphones, the whole setup, the whole shebang. But that's not always possible because, as I've said before, there's a preschool in the house. So in the mornings has kind of ruled out any sort of recording it. And then in the afternoon, because now Finesse is home, she's not at work, she gave up working in the afternoons and in the mornings. She's on her maternity leave. Not that she gave up working, the house is never really empty or quiet or whatever, and so mostly I would go upstairs into one of the spare room, which I've done it before, or I tried it in the kind of yoga room, gym room before, but it's too echoey because it's just too much stuff. So anyway, long short, the reason why I'm here in the middle room of the house is because we are getting there's workmen outside making further tarmacking pieces to the garden because Vanessa has upgraded her preschool to have more kids this year, but it also means there has to be now more parking spaces, so we had to get rid of most of our grass, which I'm all in favour of because the two things I hate most in the world: driving and cutting grass. But the way it's worked out actually, my father-in-law would come in and he would do an awful lot of grass on the ride-on lawnmower or whatever. But now because of the way it's been cut out, I'm actually end up, even though there's way less grass, I have to cut more grass than I was previously, so it worked totally in my disadvantage. So if it was a magic thing, there'd be a magic lesson. That's what I didn't do any magic lesson in that you will get what you want, less grass, but not what you wanted to cut less grass. But at the minute they're outside, and I'll tell you, tradesmen are a law unto themselves. The guy who's doing it, he's a dose, and he's just very hard to. It's just for whatever seems. It's a thing they all do, not to tarnish them all with the one brush and all that. But it seems to be true enough of them that you can do it. That they take no personal responsibility and always try to blame other people, and in fact try to blame you, the client, for reasons why they're not turning up in time or not doing work. It's like he rang this morning and said to Vanessa, can we come and do the tarmacking now, because he's already like a week behind because he didn't turn up or the weather wasn't right for him or all these things. Anyway, and Vanessa goes, no, you can't come, you cannot come because it's health and safety issues when the school is on. You can't have workmen walking around doing stuff, walking in the garden, or whatever when school's on. You just can't. Apart from the health and safety of it, none of them are guard vetted to be on the premises, because you have to be totally guard vetted, which means that you have to have a written thing from the police, which is the Garda here, saying that you have never been done for crimes against children or, abuse or any sort of major crimes, whatever. You're safe, children are safe to be around you. And so obviously, they're hard enough to get. It takes weeks and stuff like that. And every job you have to get it. And I have to get it constantly. Vanessa have to get it. Or anyone who, like her, Vanessa's parents had to get it because they come in and out of the house. So anyone who's around. So you just can't have workmen. So she explained all that to him on the phone this morning, and he arrives anyway. And then we Vanessa goes out and have to have a row with him, you know. And all his workers are like, later talking to Vanessa, going, well, like, I mean, you told him on the phone this morning, and you know, it's just but it's kind of head melting. But anyway, that's the long story of why I'm up in this room, because they're outside and they're making noise. And you know, poor gentle listeners on the podcast, you know, your ears might hurt if you hear some background noise. You know, I'm just always constantly looking out for you people, and making sure your experience is as good as it possibly can be here on the Tommy Kelly podcast. So what we're doing today is another one of our monthly question and answer sessions. We have a couple of questions in. It should fill up the time. If you want to get in on that, excuse me, it's usually just for patrons, but patrons are very silent when it comes to questions. So rather than just ignoring it, which I was doing for a couple of months, and just not doing these things, I opened it up to the Facebook group, and they've always come out with some questions and stuff like that, which is great. But if you are a patron, you will, and you get your question, you will get first choice. So yeah, you know, if the time allocated to this will always go to patrons first, which is, you know, I think totally fair. They support me, so I should support them. So yeah, let's get into this and start with the questions. The weather report is that it's raining quite heavily, but in a nice kind of autumny, wintry way. You look out and, you know, you feel safe inside, and it feels kind of comforting and stuff like that. Very grey, but it's Ireland. This is, you know, what we're used to. So anyway, on to the questions. Drew Smith asks, do you have a preferred banishing ritual and a preferred invoking ritual? Well, funny you should ask. A couple of weeks ago, I did an entire episode all about banishing and my thoughts and all those things, but not just to do that thing of go listen to that, because, you know, you mightn't have time to listen to more than one podcast, and you've listened to this one because you've asked a question. Do I have a preferred banishing ritual? I do, but not, it's really, really simple. It's the Heces Este Biblio, which is away, all things profane, and waving of the hand, brushing the area around me. That's if I'm doing a deliberate kind of magic work. That I feel I should make some sort of announcement of a banishing at the beginning of it, or at the end. At the beginning, don't really banish at the end for reasons in the podcast. Short story, as I think it's a bit rude. But my main banishing, if I want ritual, is cleaning the room, cleaning myself. Decluttering is the huge banishing. Tying up loose ends with people, making sure that there's nothing that you're putting off, that getting all your work stuff done that has to be done, that you're not avoiding things. All of that is a much better banishing ritual for me than the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or the star ruby or any of these things. Not to say that any of those things are totally meaningless or whatever. People love them, and, you know, there's great value in it. I did it for a long time, and it does make you feel magical, and does make you feel banishy. But I think a much better banishing ritual is to clean your room. That's me. Other opinions are available. Preferred invoking ritual. Again, you can do the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, which is the kind of the actual original version of it, when it was just the lesser ritual of the pentagram, and it was the invoking pentagram that you used and stuff like that. And I assume you could do the same with Star Ruby, just invert it, or go, you know, invoke it rather than invert the pentagram. My favorite invoking of all of the things, and it comes from NLP in a sense, and it's modeling. And I tried to talk about this before in the banishing episode, and I couldn't remember the word modeling, but I got around it. And it's basically the idea of you look at what you want, what you have, like say, there's a great story Grant Morrison has about where he invoked John Lennon, and what he did is he surrounded himself with John Lennon stuff, Beatles albums, posters, psychedelic stuff. He had Tomorrow Never Knows going on a loop. He tried to feel like John Lennon. He tried to get into the character of John Lennon. He tried to feel what way John Lennon would, feel internally, what way he would think, what his, tried to see from the point of view of how he imagined John Lennon to be. In a sense, that's kind of modelling in an NLP sense, is that you would look to a role model someone that you admire who's achieved something you want, whether that be some sort of business accolades, some sort of personality trait that they have, or a certain gait, the walk, a certain character, certain gravitas, whatever it is that you want to emulate from these people, and then you kind of take that on and emulate it. Now, it's not doing an impression per se of this person. So, I mean, if you want extra charisma, say, you're not going to do an impression of Johnny Depp. That's providing that you think Johnny Depp is charisma in the first place, or the particular type of charisma you want. But you would try on to feel how that would feel, and then go out into the world from that kind of sense, or from that kind of point of focus. So if you were trying to, say, become a rich person, you'd read all about Richard Branson, which is a huge thing in NLP. They love bringing this guy up because he's so successful and all this. And so you'd kind of look at the things he did. And Tony Robbins' big thing is success leaves clues. So you look at the clues that this guy leaves behind, and then you kind of, in a sense, bring them on, put them on like clothes, and then, try and wear them. Again, try not to do an impression, more an emulation, or trying a stealing of their characteristics that you like. So you don't have to start dressing like, excuse me, Richard Branson, but feeling, what would Richard Branson feel like? What would the emotions involved? How would he feel? What would his confidence levels be? And, to try all of them on. So then when it comes to invoking, I do exactly the same thing. What does it feel like to be any of these things that you're invoking? If you're bringing in, say, Mercury, and you want to invoke Mercury into your world, what would it feel like to be, Mercury? So you have a look at different descriptions of Mercury, the different traits that he has, the mercurial energies, or the mercurial stuff he has. He's a psychopomp, he's a messenger, he's all of these things. So you'd read as much as you could about him. You'd find out as much as you could. You'd surround yourself with his attributes, like his colors, his sigil, different, statues, or, different things that represent him, or, depict him in whatever way, different things, and you'd surround yourself that until you got the flavor of Mercury, and you try and go and try the feeling, the idea of Mercury on, and see how that feels. And then ask yourself, what would Mercury, why are you invoking in the first place? What is the question you're trying to answer? And from the point of view of Mercury, being now that you have taken on the god form, answer the question. How would he answer it? Knowing what you know now about Mercury and how he feels and how he acts, how he expresses himself, and that's because you've surrounded yourself with mercurial energy, what is the answer? Is it different from what you have? I suspect it probably will be. And then if you want to let go of that, you just let go of it, and then invoke yourself back, with all your crappiness, and return to, all your non-godness, and your insecurities, and your hidden racisms and bigotry, or whatever it is that we have that makes us. You're more than just your hidden bigotry, possibly. So yeah, banishing, declutter, invoking, kind of like a modeling thing, works for me. And it doesn't have to be gods, and it's that whole thing of the Taylor Elwood stuff that he's really good at, is the taking on the characteristics of, like TV characters, or book characters, or films, or whatever it is. If Sherlock Holmes gives you the presence and the clarity to solve or do whatever it is you need to do, and if it works for you, then more power to you. It's not something I really could ever get into, is the invoking a character, a fictional character, because it just kind of feels inauthentic to me. But I, in principle, have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. What works. Beth Wells, which servant have you had the most profound experience with? Well, that's a good question. The most profound, I suppose, experience of the whole thing was the pilgrimage. That when I went to Bucharest in Romania, the pilgrimage to see the relics of Saint Cyprian, and bringing, the 40 servants with me, and bringing the saint card, and, having the relic, which was a hand, touch the saint card, and that kind of thing. So that was pretty profound. And it was I have done a podcast episode on it where it was very stressful, the whole thing, because traveling, just whatever happened over the last while traveling, has just become a stress bucket situation for me. but there was a lot going on and a lot of different things happening. So it's the thing that comes to mind when that question is asked. I also had some stuff with obviously different. The Master is a huge card for me, because it all often is a focus of my meditation in its kind of HGA aspect, the Holy Guardian Angel or your Holy Demon, whatever. Incidentally, still haven't finished Frater Aker's book. It's really good, though, since I've been the bits I have read, which is most of it. But really good if you're looking at a different kind of view on HGA type work. So the Master will be a focus of my meditation an awful lot. The Guru as well is the one who came into, I suppose, there's a story that Alan Moore talks about where he talks about that he met John Constantine twice in real life. Once where he was in some sort of lunch area, cafeteria type thing, and he came in and he winked at him. And another time, it was during a magical ceremony with the famous, the secret to magic is any cunt can do it. And I forgot what I was saying. The Guru was physically, in a sense, appeared in my life. Exactly, it looked very similar. Had pretty much exactly what I had envisioned in one sense for the Guru or whatever. But and I had to kind of push past that a wee bit because I couldn't then separate this person from the archetype or the idea of the Guru itself. Not in any bad way, not that it was like a taking over or anything. It's just it needed to separate it so that I could see the person in their own light and not just an aspect of the Guru, and see the Guru in his own light and not just an aspect of this person, so that I could move along and use both people in separate different ways and see it. But there was definitely a similar thing to a nod that I could, oh look, there's the Guru, there he is, there's the bleed over from the veil, from the idea space into whatever this is, normal space or whatever. Most profound. Other than that, I don't think I've ever dreamt of any of the 40 Servants, which is odd. I'm trying to think of it. Maybe I have, maybe I've mentioned before, but offhand I haven't thought. Although there's an interesting dream I had about Ganesha, which was kind of around the time when I was doing a lot of Ganesha stuff that I ultimately ended up in the road opener. Where I was getting into lucid dreaming and coming up with ideas. If I lucid dream, what's my plan? Rather than just going, oh, I'm going to fly, which is what I usually do. And then, you get caught back into dream. So he goes, I'm going to call out to people and try and, evoke some sort of spirits or whatever it is within my dream. And the first person I did it with was John Constantine. And I got him to appear in a dream. I lucid and I started looking for him. I became lucid in a bar, strangely enough. And he said to me, if I believed what you believed, I could do anything. And that was it. And I thought that was cool, but I don't really know what it means, because at the time I wasn't believing an awful lot of good things. It's particularly towards magic. I was in a kind of a bad place with it. I've talked about before, I kind of felt like I was outside looking into the big magical dance within, and I was the little boy outside at the window wishing I could be in with the cool people. So it was I felt excluded from magic or whatever, and it was, again, without getting too heavy into it, it was all about the kind of victim stuff I was doing and all that. So if I believed what you believed, I could do anything. So I never exactly worked out what it is that I believe that he could do anything with, and I'd love to know, because I'd like to be able to do anything. But the dream then, the lucid dream, was I was to do a Ganesha, was at a train station. And this was the second time I had become lucid and tried to call out to him. One was in a kind of a haunted house, and it just nothing happened. It was a weird house. That was a weird dream. But then the second one, I was at a train station. I was on a train platform. The train was in. There was loads of a huge crowd of people. And I was at one end of it, and the train was to my left. And I called out to Ganesha, whatever way it was. And I could hear him. I knew he was there. And he was at the other end of the platform with all these people in between us. And he was, all I could see was just his hand up in the air. He was trying to go, I'm here. I can't get through. I can't get to you. I can't, that kind of, but I'm here. But it didn't count as having meeting him or whatever. But it's an interesting one, because the remover of obstacles in the dream was blocked by obstacles. So I thought that was very interesting, in that calling out to the great remover of obstacles, and didn't get to him because he was blocked by obstacles. So, but all that stuff, obviously the Ganesh stuff is in the road opener stuff. So that's one I'll have to have more think about, because I probably bet there's one that I go, oh yeah, half an hour after I upload this, I go, oh yeah, of course, and that thing that I should have talked about in that situation. Tina, I'm sorry, I can't do names. Tiana Jackson. What servant do you recommend to call upon for a successful job interview? And then I asked her what was the job, and it said marijuana, whatever way that's pronounced. It's because the older generation always pronounced that word wrong, and I kind of picked it up wrong jokingly and said it wrong for years, and now I just can't say it properly. Marijuana, right? Yeah, that's it? Right. A pot dispensary, and if different positions available: receptionist, customer service, inventory specialist. But she wants to be the receptionist. Well, the fortunate is obviously a great idea for anything where you want good fortune in. So I would definitely be encouraging that. The sun as well for that power boost. And the witch is the factotum, she's good for any question you could possibly ask of. What servant would be good to use in this situation? You can answer that with the witch absolutely every time. If you need to brush up on knowledge and have some sort of, actual, if you're going to be asked questions and stuff like that of things you should know about, then the librarian could help you gain that knowledge and be that. The guru, practicality. I'll show you that if it's more of a practical thing that you need to be able to do. So whereas say the librarian will have, the things behind it or whatever, the information, that kind of thing. The guru will show you the practical. So the librarian will tell you that Microsoft Office is the thing that most people use, whereas the guru will show you how to use it. That you will know the history of Microsoft Office from the librarian, but how to actually put in an Excel sheet and how to use it would fall under the remit of the guru. So again, it all comes down to what you're looking for and what kind of thing. But the sun, the fortunate, the witch, and then kind of specialize in whatever is things. So a dispensary, I don't know what would be the good thing. The giver, I suppose. Because there's that exchange that's going to be going on, but you want to be the receptionist. So yeah, and depending on what your life situation as well, the balance could be there to balance, work and lack of work, money, all of these type of things. But yeah, hope that answers your question, and I hope you get the job. Terry Eldridge, what do you do when you hit a slump and daily practice feels more like a chore than something you actually want to do? Well, that is something I am very friendly with. Excuse me, I just have to have a drink. As it's something that happens to me a lot, and I'm kind of in one with my meditation. I had kind of peak meditation around the hospital that leading up to the hospital visit just before the baby was born. And I felt a real kind of elation and a high, and as if I'd leveled up a bit with my meditation because of that, and I could kind of see the benefit of it. And then it kind of just all went to shit after that, and it became very lackluster and unfocused and going nowhere, and a chore, a definite like a thing. I have to meditate still, that kind of a feeling. And it certainly has happened to me with magic, and it's happened to me with art, and it's happened in loads of different things. In art, it's for me, it's kind of sometimes tough shit because it's the job, it's what I do, so I just have to get myself into just do it, and you'll surprise yourself in that that you can switch it on inspiration sometimes you can. Sometimes there's days where I literally can't draw, just no chance, just doesn't happen, and I just have to give up in those days. But I think the best thing to do if you're in a slump and when all that and it does feel a chore is that just stop, just stop trying to do it, and step back with it. I was doing a really big daily magical thing, and there's a post on it on the Woo Woo site all about it, and it was a really long, it was taking, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes every day, and I was doing it, and I was getting nowhere, and it became a total chore. And it led to that other post then was, are you getting, a return of, a good enough return of interest on your magic work? And I found it wasn't, obviously. And so I think the thing to do when magic becomes a chore, or daily practice becomes a chore, is to stop. Now, there is a whole thought, and Gordon White from Rune Soup, excuse me if it's not Gordon who said this, but in my head it is right now, would say that if your magic isn't working, do more magic, in the sense of if you're not getting enough from your LSD, take more LSD, kind of a thing. The heroic dose, translate it into the heroic dose of LSD into the heroic dose of magic. And I don't think that's, I was going to say, I think that's bad advice. It's not bad advice. It's not what I find to be helpful. I find that can become more frustrating and lead to darker places. And it was kind of those type of thoughts that led me to that thing I talked about earlier about feeling excluded and outside magic, because you kind of get the feeling that everyone else is having this amazing success, not just in magic, in life and all, in whatever way you want. You could be, the artist outside the artist building, looking at all the other people doing well, or feeling that that's the case. Social media is it's a strange beast, and obviously it's a mirror that it reflects more about us than possibly it does about other people in many ways. But it's also, mostly false. It's interesting, just as a side tangent. My wife would talk about how people big up themselves on social media all the time. And it's obviously the people I hang around with thing, but most people I hang around go the other way, and would verge on the big downing themselves, and under the kind of life is shit type of thing. So it's like social media can be quite negative for me, and I have to be careful of it, because particularly with a lot of political posts and stuff like that people just kind of, the world can get very, very dark very, very quick. But I know also that if you're following a lot of people who are saying how life is great and your life isn't particularly great, that equally can bring a bit of darkness in as well. And that's kind of more what I was pointing at in the whole kid outside looking in the window as it rains or in the snow at these people having a great time inside. Take a break. That's what I would suggest. I think that doing more of it isn't helpful. I think that kind of comes from a Protestant work ethic type thing, that you have to put the time in, the work in. You have to suffer. You have to get through these things, and you have to, earn your stripes and all of that kind of shite. But which is true. That's not to say you don't have to put the time in and do all that. But don't, if it's to a point where it's a chore, putting you in bad form, ruining your life in the sense of it's ruining your mood and all that thing, step away, walk away. And it's something that it took me a while to realize, that years, that it's okay to not be as enthusiastic about something right now. In that, I kind of, say, when I took up photography and stuff like that, and I got really into it, and I was so super enthusiastic, and then it came to the first kind of lull in it where I wasn't really into it as much, and I kind of felt guilty about it, because I spent so much time at this, and now I'm not into it, kind of thing. And it was like, kind of, as if you're not into it that day or that week, as if you're not, that's it, it's over. And just allow the kind of ebb and flow of the world and these things to go in and out. You're not a child anymore, and you're not going to be into G.I. Joe this week and fucking Micro Machines next week or whatever. Then you see an ad and it's Turtles this week or whatever. You've a bit more, I would assume, if you're anything like me, a bit more of a, you don't get into things as quick and easy, and you don't get out of things as quick and easy. So if you've been involved in magic, occult, or whatever it is, you're involved in meditation, new age thought, whatever it is kind of thing for a while, taking a break or pulling back from it isn't going to pull you out of the loop altogether. I took several breaks over the years, one considerable long one after I finished college, away from all of these thoughts, just because I couldn't. My brain just couldn't do it anymore. I needed to go live for a while. Funny story coming into my head. When I met Stuart Wilde, drop that name there for you. Well, it's not really, because most of you don't know who he is. His big thing about me, and about when he met me, and he read my aura, man. He said that I had I'll paraphrase him, I had more living to do, that I was too much in my head, too much thinking about these things, and I had to go and live and stuff like that. So I kind of did that for a while. Then you come back. So I would suggest, Terry Eldridge, that you go and live for a while, go to get a new hobby, go do something else, go do something that isn't your daily practice, and then when you come back to it, I will guarantee you will feel rejuvenated, and you will see that door to that metaphorical building that I've been talking about, and you can go in and dance and eat all the good food with the rest of the people. And if it happens again, just do the same. Just take a break. It's fine. I would suggest. Catherine Cooper. Do you think some servants have become more powerful than others? And do you personally find some that are more fast acting and immediate? Have they become more powerful? In their essence, in their true sense, no. They're as powerful as they were. The more well known, and therefore have a wider influence. And certainly because they're set to, feed on attention and grow by attention, and their power grows by attention. Getting more attention has made them. But on an individual level, I think people like the witch, people like so. If you feed a servitor on attention, then the most popular ones, I suppose by definition, are the more powerful ones. But not intrinsically, not kind of in their nature. Not that they've become. What am I trying to say here? Not that they've become more powerful per se, they've just become more popular and therefore more powerful because they've been used more. Does that make any sense? Kind of does in my head. And because it's all subjective anyway, like you could go, the witch is more powerful, rabbit ears, quotation marks, and someone who doesn't like the witch at all would go, well, she never works for me, so that's, no good. Because it's all, as I said before about servants, I think like your witch and my witch are two different witches sharing common idea space, common ground as an idea of the witch, that we have a focus of the 40 servants, the witch, that thing. So, and we kind of have a common ground of what we all agree in a certain, we all agree to play that idea game of what the witch is. But immediately, as soon as it becomes my version, when I think of the witch, it branches off into my interpretation, my witch, my servitor, my stuff. And your witch one has all of your life stuff, all of your personality, all of your how you view your reality tunnel, all of those things, and that branches then out into a completely different thing. So you have ideas. If you could see my hands, it really should be a video. I have my thumbs touching of both hands. That's the joint idea space, and then left hand fingers is where I branch out, and then right hand fingers where you branch out. You can make that at home. Just put your thumbs together, spread your hands out, and then wiggle them, and you can see what I'm doing. So more powerful and fast acting would be subjective, which the kind of thing of the more popular ones it'll be easier for people to find them more powerful because other people have found them more powerful in the past. It's like kind of like that old thing that Rupert Sheldrake talks about, which I don't know if it's true or not, that it's easier to do a crossword late at night, like the crossword from the newspaper late at night or the next day, because more people have done it and the answers are already out there, man. So if you were new to the 40 Servants and you went through the 40 Servants Facebook group and you see loads of people going, oh, thank you very much, the witch, thank you very much, the witch, or whoever it is, I'm just taking the witch as an example, as she is one of the more popular ones, that is going to appear to you to be way more powerful, and there will booster and back up any kind of working you do then with the witch. But if you have a kind of an opposition to witchcraft or Wicca, or had an experience with a number of witches that dark and that kind of thing, or put a bad taste in your mouth over that, you would have an aversion to the witch and therefore would be less powerful and kind of things. So I'm kind of talking around your question, I suppose. Do you think servants have become more powerful than others? Yes, but not in only because they're popular, not in their innate abilities, or kind of like the witch hasn't become a better witch. She's just more popular, and the popularity, because they're feeding attention, makes her more powerful. I think that's my answer. I feel I'm leaving something out. Fast acting and immediate. Who is more fast acting and immediate? The Gatekeeper does really well. Like going by, this is more, I'm kind of trying to take an overview of things rather than just, because I'm assuming you're asking me in general rather than from me, because who's fast acting and powerful for me is definitely different from the group. the group think, or the group mentality, or the group power. Gatekeeper works really well because, for people who like lose things or need to get stuff back. It's worked a number of times for people who, you know, oh, my deck has been lost, or my keys have been lost, or something has been stolen from me, or something's gone, and that has worked really quick. But that isn't a kind of an immediate emergency magic type thing. Come back to the witch, that would be very fast acting as well. The healer seems to work well for people, in target specific stuff. Once it's not too chronic or too severe or too seeming impossible for people to, the healer. I mean, no one's curing cancer or anything with the healer or anything close to it. Just kind of think around all that. Balancers work well as well for people with money things and all that. And the fortunate, fairly quick. So yeah, my answer then is, do you think? I think that it all depends on the person, and the groupthink will obviously increase the view of the power levels of certain things, but I think that will ebb and flow, and that'll be different. And it's interesting that the English-speaking group compared to, say, the Brazilian group, definitely the power levels of the servants are different. So that's interesting to note, that the popularity of, say, someone like the Fixer is huge in Brazil, the Brazilian group, and everyone in the normal group, the English-speaking group are scared of him, whereas in Brazil they're, hey, let's do this, let's not care, let's just go for it and see what happens. Which both has its plus and minuses, and all that kind of thing. But there's certainly ones that aren't used at all, that you see. I very rarely see anyone using the contemplator. Of course, now my mind's gone blank. Don't see that. Well, you see the mother being used. The father doesn't get used at all. Really, that's very, very rare that you see that. Wonderful servant. And again, I would suspect because it's the hard knock value of the father, in that he's going to teach you. You're going to learn your lesson the hard way. And that's like, what's attractive about that? Why would you want to do that? So I can understand. The opposer gets obviously used more than the devil, because people like the idea of external opposition rather than doing any internal work, not a judgment. That's just the truth. I would be similar myself, but the more powerful magic obviously is the devil, if you want, because it's more transformative personally, and you transforming yourself is transforming your world, rather than transforming the world doesn't consistently transform yourself. And so it's all down to the level of what is currently popular, giving a perceived power boost to the different servants. But I think as a whole they're becoming more powerful and more thing, because of the more well known, people are using them, getting good response and reporting stuff back, which is boosters and bolsters all of those things and all that kind of thing. But individually, if people stopped talking about the witch, or using the witch, this time next year, would she be as powerful as she was now? She'd be as powerful as she was before people started talking about her. And that's kind of, there's something I'm just not explaining properly about that. So I'll talk about it again if that's not been explained properly to you. But what time are we? Right. I have one last question then. This came up in the group this morning, and it's come up a couple of times. It's not a direct question, it's just something that came up in the group. It was not something that's come up a few times, and not something that's been hugely spoken about or something. And in the 2 years of the 40 Servants, when it has been mentioned, it's kind of people say it in a lot of anger and kind of, just fuck off out of the group really quick. And it's about the fact that the deck is, and the question was about, it wasn't even a question, it was pointing out that there's a lot of, that was kind of saying that most of the women in it are nude and or in some state of undress, whereas that's not the equivalent of the men thing in it. And other people have complained that, it's so heteronormative, it's so... one person at the beginning was really good on to me about racist, and that they had no... would I not think about putting, non-white people into it? And I was explaining the different ones, and it turned out that they hadn't ever seen the deck at all, and it was just something they were going around doing, was giving out to everyone, or I'm not sure if they're going around, but they were giving out to me about my deck being racist because he just assumed it would be without doing any kind of a thing. And I go, well, what can I do about that? So here's the thing. Here is the thing. And I got a letter from someone, which an actual letter, which I really appreciate, and I must write back. Someone putting out the fact that I do not pronounce H's in when they come after T's. And I'm very aware of that, and it is my accent. And I used to be very what's the word? Aware of it and stuff like that. And I tried to change it by a thing. It just sounds so wrong when I do it, and so forced and so horrible, and it's my tongue, that thing. So I can't pronounce THs. That's the way it is, and I'm okay with it. So the thing is, this deck was made for me to use. It was something that I thought I would do that would be cool. I was coming to the end of a period in my life, I suspected, where things were about to end, and I was going to have to, give up on an awful lot of things and go into a kind of a, get a normal job and give up on my dreams and all this type of thing. So I had one kind of last hooray, whatever, one last kind of chance to do something before money run out, and the real world kicked at my door and dragged me kicking and screaming to the real world that teachers at school told me about. But so I did it for me. It was something I said, what would be something I would find cool that I want to use, and maybe 10, 20 people will be interested in it for a week or two, and then I'll go out into the desert of the real world. So it's all for me. It's like it was all done for my aesthetics, how I like things, my artwork, my particular archetypes, ideas that I like. So you have stuff like the saint, because I come from a Catholic background. The Master certainly has a Christ consciousness element, Jesus type thing, because I spent a lot of time in Theosophy, and again the Catholic stuff and all of that is all around. They have different kind of it's not trying to be a universal deck in any way, trying to be like the carnal. There's good. The carnal is a naked woman, because I am a male heterosexual who finds naked women a good representation of carnal energies. A naked man, while absolutely nothing wrong with it, and more power to all of that type thing, it's not. It's just doesn't do it for me. So it was from my point of view, because I was making it for me. So all of these things, like if I was never aiming to do a universal thing, so it's not going to be for everyone. It's not a homosexual, if you want, themed deck in the way, like it's heteronormative. Yes, it probably is, yeah, but only because I'm a heterosexual, and that's how I see the world, and that's how I approach the world. We're trying to be inclusive as much as possible. Like the Lovers has a kind of ambiguity to it purposely, just because when I did it, I happened to go, that'd be interesting to just leave it that way, rather than kind of a definite plan that I had beforehand. I was just kind of halfway through it, and I went, that's interesting, I like that. That leaves the energy of that, the idea of that, a bit less delineated or unbounds it a wee bit more. And so I was like, that's kind of cool. But like, I wasn't trying to make the carnal into something that a homosexual man would find attractive, because I thought 20 people at most would be interested in this, and I was making it for me. But the other thing is, like, the thing was that it was like, there's so, almost all the women are naked, or in whatever that word, or undressed, or whatever. And there's 13 women in the deck, and less than half of them are in some state of undressed. There's 7 fully dressed, and 6 that aren't. And at the same time, there's 5 men undressed, in equal state of undressed, that no one ever, say that, but it's always, look at that, there's breasts out, or whatever. The only actual proper genital, if you want, the penis in it is a male genitalia. There's no vaginas, there's no, that kind of thing in it at all. And the carnal, like, suggests it, obviously. But, so, I mean, like, the Master's nude, no one ever, doesn't think. The Messenger, another male nude. The Giver is nude. Now, you can make an argument, certainly, that angels have no gender, but you could equally say that Death has no gender. and that what should be non-gendered too as well. The lovers, of course, we talked about. There's the it's the penis. It's the thing you can't show on Facebook, and then you have the male, could be female, could be other thing. The contemplator is also nude. So I mean, there's more female nudity in the deck than there is male nudity, but that's not to say there isn't any male nudity, and it's I'm okay with nudity. I can understand why it annoys people, and I can understand why people could look at something and go, that's, there's lots of boobies in that thing, but there's penises too, and there's male nipples, and there's all of these things. And it's like kind of the mother, I think I'm quite happy with the nudity in it. I think it's representation is Mother Earth. I don't think it's the pregnancy, the breast, it's good to feed the child, and it's this embodiment of the earth energy. I think that's quite justifiable. I don't think it's sexy. I don't think it's sexist. I mean, females are mothers and all of these type of things. The Fortunate is kind of, in a sense, from an art point of view, from a design point of view, is very influenced from the World card in the tarot. There's an interesting story about the World, which is like kind of the naked woman with the scrolls kind of around her. And the interesting thing I came across, and I don't know where I came across this, could be in the BOTA or it could be in Paul Foster cases, but I don't think it's in his writings, but it's in some way. But it's the idea that the world and the scroll, or the material that's covers her genitalia area, is that it's actually covering a penis, and that's the secret of the world. I would suspect possibly this is coming from some sort of Crowleyan influence. It could be Lon Milo the Ket talking about it. Maybe I got it from there, because there's a really good video knocking about where he goes through the whole thought deck. So it could be that. So it's kind of that influence in that, that kind of thing. Not saying that the Fortunate has a secret penis or anything like that, but that was kind of where I was coming from. Like, I mean, so that was my thought on that. And of course, the Greek gods, the whole thing. No one is objecting in Greece about nudity and sex or whatever. That, again, like I said, I could make an argument that it's she is not female in that, but there is a breast, so I think it's a cool design. I don't think it's particularly sexist or whatever. And equally, I don't think the person, I'll not say her name because it's not fair. She didn't put it up for this, but I think she caught her a surprise rather than she was giving out or any of those things. Like, it's just, and I know her well from CMG, so she's cool. It was good kind of kicking off point, because it has come up before, and it usually comes up in kind of some sort of anger. Again, not only a handful, three times that I can really think of. The dancer, in my head, that the whole thing with the dancer originally comes from a painting, drawing thing I did from Moments, and it was called Calling the Old Gods, and it was an idea of this kind of tribal woman dancer out in the rain in the outback, and calling on these things, this dancing in the rain, this whole thing, which led to the dancer. And from that tribal point of view, that it was, the nudity seemed, fair to me, or kind of that would be in context. The carnal is the carnal, and I mean, I really could have gone to more than that, but I didn't. The adventure is kind of the only one that I think, when I look at it, I kind of go, well, that's probably, there's no need for that. It's a bit gratuitous. And I could make a kind of a schoolboy argument that, it's adventure, get your tits out for the lads kind of a thing, in a sense. Like, there could be some sort of argument definitely to be made on that, but I think it's kind of, I don't know what it's not a credible argument, although, you could win the argument, you could make a good argument. It definitely was not in my mind when I was doing it. That came from another drawing that focus then became on the adventure, so it was kind of augmented from something else or pulled from something else. And it's the only one I kind of, not that I wouldn't change it. Going back now, I wouldn't change it, and it kind of feels like that's the way I'm heading, so I would change it. It's the only one that I kind of look at and kind of don't understand, in the sense of why that is the way it is. But I find an awful lot of my things I've done art-wise and particularly comics and writing and stuff like that, at certain times I don't understand what it is until later. And that's not to say it's some sort of divinely inspired or whatever. It's like there's obviously some process in my mind that knows what it's doing, and I trust it. And at some stage in the future, I will find out what it is. So I don't know. The only one I look at, I don't understand the adventure. I don't like it is possibly gratuitous in that. But I think all the other nudity in the deck is kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with it. I think there's a fair balance between male and female. Again, it's very obvious that it's a male heterosexual, possibly white. Well, I am white, not possibly white, but that it's possibly obvious that I'm white from looking at the deck. And that's, I didn't expect any of this. I didn't know this was going to happen, and in a way I'm glad, because I would have made efforts to do things to please more people, and it would have watered down what it is. And I think people like it for what it is, for whatever, faults and all of these things that it has. Like, I definitely don't think it's a perfect deck or any of these things, but I definitely wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go back. Like, if there was ever a change of something happened that there would be some change, I wouldn't change the adventure, even though I don't know what the word is. I don't understand it. It's probably the best, and I don't see it. I don't get it. But I'm okay with the adventure, and I also don't really like I was going to say I don't like the adventure. I'm not someone who likes adventure and that kind of excitement, so it's not an energy that I'm around an awful lot. So there probably is a reason why I wouldn't be attracted to the card in many different ways. And that whole thing of that, I'm kind of put off it because I like my comfort zone. I don't like change. That Stewie meme from Family Guy. I don't like change. I'm very much that man. I don't like change, and so the adventure is kind of abhorrent to me in many ways. So that could be affecting me how I view it more than just I don't understand the boobies. So it's not a card I enjoy or use or a servant that I spend much time on, which would imply in many ways that there's a lot of shadow work there, and I should use it and I should do it. So that was just while it was in the news. I thought I would just mention that as well. That I do think it's balanced nudity, both sides. There is nearly as many nude males as there is nude females. I could make arguments that there's as many, depending on what way I want to assume people's genders within the deck. And again, pointing out that the most private genitals are male in the end, and private. What am I, a Catholic? But yeah, so that's it. That's just kind of what I wanted to say in that. As per usual, I did all these things selfishly, and that's how it is. And so you can't get the toothpaste back into the tube, and other cliches like that. So that's all the questions that we have. So yeah. So that was another episode of the Tommy Kelly podcast, and I have to say I enjoyed this one. This room is very comfortable. I'm sitting on a beanbag, and a huge beanbag, and it's quite comfortable. It's just going to be hard to get out of it because I have old man knees now, it seems. But if you like this type of thing, then you can go to TommyKellyPodcast.com, and then all of the episodes are there, and you can find the RSS to put it into any podcatcher of your choice, or there's the iTunes link, or Pocket Cast, Castbox, a number of other things there. If you go to adventuresinwoowoo.com, that's the hub of all things, that's the blog, and you can find everything you want to know about the 40 Servants there, including how to use them for free, totally for free, how you can buy the deck, how you can buy the deluxe deck, how you can buy the grimoire, or the new book which is out, which is the little black book, which is basically the grimoire without the expensive colour pages. So it's a cheaper version of the grimoire. You don't get any of the servant images, you still get the sigils, and you don't get any of the end tables. And the reason why you don't get any of the end tables is I wanted to have some sort of bonus for the people who do spend the money on the grimoire. I've also put the Kindle version of that book down to $4.99. That could be pounds or dollars, I'm not sure. It was $9.99, and I put it down in the sale, the last sale that we had around Halloween, the Bart sale. But I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that because I think it's a fairer price now that the print version, you can get a cheaper print version. So it used to be like the Kindle for £10 or the Grimoire for £40, and now you can get it for £5, and Kindle 13 quid, the little black book of £40. So it seems a better in my head, a better deal, better thing to do. I'm also going to leave the digital deck at €5 for the time being. That's half the price it was, because again I think that's kind of fairer now, but we'll see how that goes. But for the time being, that's what it'll be. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. If you want to help me out, then please share this. Please share the blog posts. Please share the videos that I do. I've just recently completed the 40 Servants video course, and there's about 3 videos that I've left to upload, but they're all done, edited, and the whole thing. Which I'm delighted about. That took a year, so I'm going to be doing more videos after that. A lot of videos for the Patreon. The Patreon is kind of where you can spend some money and help me out, and in return I give you as much as I can. There is a number of tiers, but in them you can get like all the PDFs of my comics, the digital download of the deck, the Grimoire in PDF. We do weekly rituals. We do a lot of group work. We do a whole thing called the Journey, which is like a huge year-long shadow working using servitors and meditation, and there's access to a Facebook group just for that. And that's next month is the end of it in a sense, but you can start whenever you want, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not just that it's ending, but the kind of all the servitors will be laid out, all the kind of written component will be there and will be finished, so you can start something knowing that it's all the coursework is there. I will probably put it all together into one big PDF and rewrite it and make it a bit more user-friendly, but I will, at the end of the journey, when we finish it, we'll have some chats in the Patreon and talk to what worked, what didn't work, what we can do better, what can we do. But it'll definitely be, for me anyway, I can't speak for other people doing it, it's going to be ongoing work. So yeah, YouTube's, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the places. But the best thing to go is just go to adventuresandwoowoo.com and you will find all of these links. And good people of the internet, may you have a wonderful week. May whatever tradesmen you employ, may they arrive in time and do the job to say they will, with the minimum of fuss, without any hassle. And may all of the things that you wish to happen for this week go well. And may you have a wonderful week, and I will speak to you all next week. Be well.